you guys are drinking and gossip.
Yes.
This isn't a therapy
That's exactly
session,
what it sounds
right?
like.
If you guys discuss her husband in this manner amongst your friend group, like, what do you say about me? We see what happens. You work things out with your partner, but all your friends and family now hate this guy because all they've ever heard is the negative and the bad things that this person has ever done.
The other night, I picked up my girlfriend from a girls' wine night, and on the drive home, she was venting about one of her friend's husbands. A lot of harsh things were said about him because of issues happening in their marriage. I understand needing support and wanting people to talk to, but where's the line between healthy venting and disrespecting your relationship?
And that's where
For sure.
There's nothing that your friends should know about me or your gripes about me that I don't know.
That's where a lot of people go wrong, not communicating those gripes to their partner and immediately resulting to venting in like an unhealthy way.
Yes.
If someone feels entitled to share every detail of their relationship with their friends, at what point does it become a violation of your partner's privacy?
What's up? Welcome to another episode of Love Up for Debate. We are going hard, all right? So we got a lot of episodes under our belt and we plan on doing a ton more. But to do that, we need you to hit that like and subscribe button for us, okay? Please just smash it real quick. Doesn't take long, okay? I promise we're going to keep giving you good content. So it is worth it, all right? Hit that like and subscribe button because this story is really, really good. I kind of heard a little bit of it. I don't know much of it, but we're gonna do live reactions to this, okay? So stay tuned for this story, like and subscribe. And without further ado, Karushi, hit it.
All right, let's go. The other night, I picked up my girlfriend from a girls' wine night, and on the drive home, she was venting about one of her friend's husbands. A lot of harsh things were said about him because of issues happening in their marriage. What caught me off guard was how deeply personal some of the details were. We're talking intimate relationship problems that honestly, I'd be mortified if my partner's friends knew about us. I told my girlfriend that it made me uncomfortable, and she said she thinks it's important for women to have friends that they can vent to and lean on emotionally. Now I'm conflicted. I understand needing support and wanting people to talk to, but where is the line between healthy venting and disrespecting your relationship? I've always believed your partner should be your safest place, the person you trust most, and that the privacy within a relationship is sacred. But if someone feels entitled to share every detail of their relationship with their friends, can that level of trust really exist? At what point does it become a violation of your partner's privacy? Another thing bothering me is the way my girlfriend was speaking about this guy. I don't even necessarily think highly of him, but the level of contempt and name calling felt ugly to me, especially considering he's supposedly been a longtime friend to her. So now I'm wondering, am I overreacting about a simple girls' night, or is this actually a bigger relationship boundary issue?
Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Good information. I think there's a lot of angles here and a lot of things to break down in this story. Obviously, we got a guy who he feels, that the information that her friends have been giving out about her relationship is a bit much, and that kind of has triggered this this worry inside of him that, like, wait, hold on. If you're talking about if you guys discuss her husband in this manner amongst your friend group, like, what do you say about me? What do you say about other people? Right?
It's brought out a little fear in him.
Yeah. And then also you have the other aspect of it where it's like, do we have privacy? Like, what is there anything that you don't share that you think is, that may be off limits? Is there any sort of boundary? Because at what point am I to say, like, this, at what point am I say, okay, you've gone too far? Is there a boundary there? Or because it sounds like the information that was given about the husband was pretty private, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like maybe they don't have a boundary. I think the biggest issue here, I don't want to say the biggest issue because there's a few issues here. The first thing I kind of got out of this is I'm not against having a friend that you vent to and talk about your relationship struggles and problems with.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a difference between having a trustworthy friend who gives you good advice, who doesn't judge, who is, maybe has the experience. I think there's that versus how she's trying to dress this up you guys are drinking and gossiping.
Yes.
This isn't a
That's
therapy
exactly
session,
what it sounds
right?
like.
And so, she may have a point that you should have somebody to vent to. That wasn't this. So we can attack both, right? We can kind of talk about both. So first and foremost, yes, I think that you could have somebody you vent to about your relationships problems. Maybe there are some boundaries and we can discuss those. Um, but I also would say that one of the fundamental breakdowns of a lot of relationships is like the lack of communication. So
Yes.
the issue here is that if you're griping about all these things to your friends, let's just concede that like I don't even care that you're doing this. I think the bigger issue is, do I know these gripes that you have?
Mm,
And I'll go even further. The advice that they're giving you, does this steer you in a positive direction, and a healthier direction for our relationship? Because, and this is a really key point at the end, she's talking trash about somebody she claims to be friends with, right? This
right.
husband, right? His
Yes.
girlfriend is friends with the husband,
Yes.
right? Not only is she talking trash, which is whatever. I'm not even. Again, we can discuss that. It sounds like whatever the wife is telling them is skewing their judgment of her husband.
Exactly.
That's a
That's what's
problem. We
happening.
know that's a problem. We
Mhm.
know it's a problem when you only gripe about your significant other to your friends or your family, because obviously we see what happens. You work things out with your partner, but
Yes.
all your friends and family now hate this guy because all they've ever heard is the negative and the bad things that this person has ever done. Because
Yeah.
nobody goes and be like, oh my gosh, like Tom bought me flowers today, right? Like you don't share that information with your friends. I mean, you may if you're a good friend. However, it sounds like, again, this is a version of gossiping and the lack of communication. I agree 100% with the husband. If you want to vent to your friend who's a good friend and has good feedback and isn't going to judge and isn't going to change that, and that's your call, right? I will say, maybe I don't even know if I'd put boundaries on this. If you have a really good close friend that you maybe grew up with, or just somebody that you find trustworthy, because at the end of the day, like you have to have that trust for me too, right? Because I could use things
Agreed.
against you as well. So like there are going to be people in your lives that you probably do fully put trust in and just hope that nothing ever happens. And we all just hope you're a good judge of character, right? So I don't even know if there's a boundary on if you have this friend or even maybe two or three friends. Again, it's hard to find those type of people that are like, just looking out for your well-being.
Right.
It's one
Yeah.
thing to kind of like make, throw jokes and roast, but like when we get to serious relationship topics, like how many people have your best interest in mind as opposed to just being like, oh, you need to leave him or he's no good for you, or because they're just looking out for you. They're looking out for your best interest. And if they're miserable, if they're not happy, a lot of times they try to drag you down, subconsciously, right? Like it doesn't even mean they're a bad friend. Sometimes like their unhappiness kind of pours in onto you. I'm
Yes.
being long-winded, but I'm going to land
No,
this.
this is
I'm
great
gonna
because
land this plane real
yeah,
quick, I
go
promise,
ahead.
and then I'll let you go. So when we talk about communication, the things that you tell your friend, if you have a friend, I will say like again, if you have a good childhood friend, or it doesn't have to be childhood, you met them and you guys are really close. This person is a good. What if they're a therapist? Like maybe they are really like good at communication, or maybe they're really good at giving advice, right? You never know. So if you have this friend, I wouldn't even say there's boundaries. Maybe you tell them some really intimate things about our relationship. However, the problem therein lies that if I don't find out about these things or know about these things, you 100% should be discussing those with your partner. And that's where
For sure.
there's nothing that your friends should know about me or your gripes about me that I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
And that's where I'll kind of land this at.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yep, we could talk about that because I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong is not communicating those gripes to their partner
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
just immediately like resulting to venting, but also venting in like an unhealthy way
Yes.
of just like griping and shit talking
Yeah.
and not really like hoping for any solutions
Mm-hmm.
from who you're venting to.
Sure. Sure.
Um, and that is where people go wrong when it comes to like these type of sessions that you
Yeah.
have with your friends,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between like healthy venting
Mm-hmm.
and borderline like gossiping
Yeah.
about your
I wouldn't
partner.
even call it gossiping. It's
Like,
just straight. It's just straight
it
gossiping.
that
But
yeah, exactly. Because like healthy venting is like you're literally confiding in someone,
uh-huh.
and maybe it's like to give you some clarity
Mm-hmm.
on the situation or the issue at hand.
Mm-hmm.
But then also like, you also want a solution to
Mm-hmm.
like to the issue.
Yes.
And then gossiping obviously is just like straight up like just disrespectful, just
Yeah.
more so for entertainment.
Right. Right.
And I have had my fair share of friends in the past, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that we all have. That's why when I saw this story, I was like, this is so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes, like I think I more so like went through it early 20s
Sure.
because like in your teens and like early adulthood
Mm-hmm.
years, like
Mm-hmm.
you're not really understanding like healthy communication
Sure.
and how to get advice, who to even get advice from.
Right. Right.
But now like being in my early 30s and like having lived through those things and helping friends through problems, um, I've definitely realized like, wow, sometimes women do vent in such
Mm-hmm.
an unhealthy way.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes we don't look for solutions. It's more of like a like F him. I can't believe like he
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And or like, oh, the favorite one, like, oh, like you're too good. You deserve
You
better.
deserve
You deserve
better.
better.
Everyone deserves better.
Oh,
We all just
yes.
deserve.
You
We deserve.
deserve
We're
better.
born and we are deserving of the greatest. Just because we deserve it doesn't matter. We deserve it.
Yes.
I love the word deserve. It's the greatest
I
word and the biggest bullshit word
we
ever
we could literally have like a whole session on
on
just that. On
on
just
what
that.
you swear you deserve. Okay. You
Yes.
deserve absolutely nothing but the discernment that you make when you're picking a partner. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's
Like
good.
if you're like, let me be a little bit more sensitive here, right? Like if you're being SA'd or like any sort of
Oh,
like
of
sort of
course.
abuse or like no, right? Like I don't even care what you did. Nobody deserves anything like that. But
Yeah.
you know what you deserve. It's such a loaded term. I'm not going to get into, but that's a good point.
It
No, that's
is.
a really good point.
Yes.
I don't want to cut you off. Are you still
Oh
going?
no, you're good. I think that was really one thing that I just like wanted to um throw out there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Again, to kind of reiterate, I don't want to get too redundant, but communication in a relationship, the breakdown of it is the downfall of probably most, if not all, relationships. Even if you break up or divorce over finances, or you break up and divorce, or you break up or divorce over infidelity or over falling apart or like growing apart,
Hmm.
these all literally come down to a lack of communication. Now,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean the relationship won't end if you have good communication, but they could end much more amicably if they're going to inevitably end. But also on the flip side, it's probably more, it's probably a higher percentage that it lasts longer, that it doesn't fail because your communication is on point. So, anyways, he wants to know, his questions um, are there boundaries? Should there be boundaries? He had quite a few questions. So I want to make sure that we like answer his questions, because the one thing that I run into is that like I'll start giving advice to the friend and the girlfriend and the other guy who's the husband and just all types of stuff. It's like, yeah. And now it's even worse because it's like now they're playing telephone. Now this guy doesn't like the husband, who I don't know if he knows him personally, but it's like now he has a whole view of this husband who the husband can't even claim his, like make a
I
claim on his case. Like, you know what I
literally.
mean? And
Yeah.
that can be a problem. Now, again, maybe he just doesn't care what this random guy thinks of him.
Yeah.
However, it's like I got character to protect. I got a reputation to protect. I mean, my wife going around griping about me. These could be like there could be. We know that there's three sides to a story.
Oh, for sure.
And
I
we
was just
know how we
thinking about
dress up
that.
stories when we talk to people. I mean, we're gonna put as much biased information in there as
Yeah.
we can
We want people to
because
be on our
right,
side.
who tells a story and is honest about like their faults in the story, right? And that's what you got to like. Those are the things you have to find. I don't like to use. I try not to use too much anecdotal, evidence or experience here
Mhm.
because it always just sounds like I'm like gassing myself up. But nevertheless, like I have a couple of friends that call me and do vent to me about their significant other. And my if you're going to be that friend that people come to, or if you're going to go to a friend and get their um get their opinion, make sure that friend or make sure you are the friend that holds your friend accountable too. Like
Yes.
hold
Oh my
your friend
gosh.
accountable too. Like when my friend comes to me and says, "Man, my girl's doing this, my girl's doing that." Like my first response is, "What did you do? Not what did you do to start that, but like what was your actions in this story? Like
Hmm.
truthfully, so that I can
Yes.
gauge this because I want to be able to tell you, "Hey man, I'm sorry, she's kind of in the right here," because that gains his trust. Every time he comes to me, he knows he's not just going to get a yes man. He's going to get the guy that shoots it straight. Doesn't always want to hear it, and sometimes even argues back with me. But I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm gonna tell you straight up, like, yeah, listen, she might have said this here, but your approach to her was probably what sparked this, and you got to change that, right? So, like, whatever I can say, and again, I can only go off of the information that my friend gives me, which already makes it hard enough.
Yeah.
And so, if you're gonna choose a friend to vent to, or if you're that friend that people vent to, make sure you're getting the necessary information and that you're holding your friend accountable as well because it gets too easy to be like and shoot. I almost make it a point to shoot bail to the partner, not in a sense of like I'm on their side, but more so because I always feel like there's some sort of compromise here. There's some sort of like common ground here. So
Hmm.
like I try to view perspective. It's like, okay, maybe what your girl did was wrong, or maybe what she's doing is annoying or not okay. But okay, let me flip this. Let me go be in her position and try to view how she's viewing you, what she's upset with you about, all the things that she's dealing in life. That way I can give you at least some sort of advice that looks at it from multiple angles as opposed to just being like, man, I can't believe your girl did that. That's crazy. Yeah, bro, what are you doing? Like, why are you still with her? That's just bad for business, man. And it's just bad to keep, So again, that's just my advice for
Yeah.
people that come to you for advice or people that, it's the thing we try to do in this show, right? In our show, we try to keep all parties accountable, right? Even if the guy is in the right, I'm still going to blame him if he made a bad decision that put him in the position that he's in, right?
Yes.
And vice versa. For the women as well. I'm still going to say, hey, listen, yeah, maybe this guy was a good, but like, what were you doing? Why did you allow this to go on for so long? Right. Like you gotta kind of approach it and be fair on all fronts and have the perspective. And that's what we try to do on the show so that we're not just like angling. There's some stories where we're just like, yeah, no, he gotta go, right?
Right.
Or she's gotta go. But like, in most instances, people are just behaving as humans behave. And so we try to see things from multiple perspectives and give more of a kind of a more graceful answer, not graceful, but like a grace-filled answer and say, hey,
Mhm.
listen, I get what he did was wrong, or I get what she did was wrong, but let's try to take a different angle and figure that out. Anyways, that's besides the point. What were his questions?
Yeah.
Because I got off on a tangent. I didn't want to do that, but I did want to just give the advice of if you're the friend that's giving out advice, don't be the you need to leave them or you need to leave there. Like no, they're in love with that partner. They're in love with somebody. So
Yeah.
you got
It's
to
not that
attack.
simple.
Yeah,
And like, why would we want to break up
yeah,
our friends?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
especially if like they're in a somewhat like
Sure.
healthy like relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even when it comes
absolutely.
down, like, again, short of something sort of like physical, sort of like type of essay or abuse or anything like that, short of something like that, even when it comes to infidelity and cheating, like people deal with those differently.
Hmm.
Of course they will, you're going to be like, oh, you need to leave that person. But sometimes there's deeper things to dive into because they may not end up leaving the person who's cheating on them. And so now what are you left with? Right. So it's
Very
how to
true.
stay with that partner and deal with some of some of the things that they've done wrong to you. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're so quick to just, hop on like this is what I would do. And it's like most of y'all don't do that. We all kind of like make the wrong decisions in our relationships,
Oh,
even though
for
we,
sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, what were his questions?
All right. So, after he was talking about how like he feels like the privacy within a relationship is sacred, he said, but if someone feels entitled to share every detail of the relationship with their friends, can that level of trust really exist? And at what point does it become a violation of your partner's privacy?
To answer that question, I don't think there's an overall. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I think you decide that. I think he
Yeah.
decides. I think he decides when it's gone too far or when it's past a certain boundary, and that's something you discuss with your partner, and hope that they have enough respect for you to abide by what you've asked of them. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's why you guys are together, right? Like, if I say, "Hey, listen, I don't mind if you talk to XYZ, but I would appreciate that you don't talk about like our intimate life," or if I would, I'd appreciate. Now, me personally, I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, if you were getting advice that I feel started to affect our relationship, maybe I'd have something to say.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like I trust your judgment. So if you were discussing like our issues with a partner or with a friend or something, I don't know if I'd really have a problem with it. Maybe if it was something embarrassing, I'd be like, yeah, why would you tell her that? But
Of course.
I don't know. I guess I'd have to be in that scenario. It's really hard to kind of gauge that. But without removing me from the scenario, yeah, I think you make that boundary, right? And then you stick to that boundary. And if that boundary is crossed, then there's a conversation to be had, or it could potentially end up being a deal breaker. But her loyalty absolutely is to you. I think that I think there are levels to like the loyalty bar. And when you're, especially when if you're married and they're boyfriend and girlfriend, so maybe it's, maybe you can try to put friends up there on the same level as your, but at the end of the day, friends are going to come and go. Like your partner, that's who you're trying to spend the rest of your life with. You decide what's more important. Like if you think the relationship with your friends is more important than your relationship with your partner, watch what happens when all your friends go and get in relationships and what you're left with, right? So like the goal here is like you're trying to have a strong relationship with your partner. So you'd want to kind of respect the boundaries that they set forward. And so he's asking what the boundaries should be, and that's up to him. Because I mean, I can't say that my boundaries would be his boundaries,
Right.
because I trust you with the information that you give out. And that's something that he should question. He should, because I guess it sounds like maybe it was a shock to him, or is like, what do y'all talk about? Like, yeah, but I feel like, I guess it would be a shock to me too, because I don't see you doing that,
Yeah.
but I kind of know you wouldn't do that. And I
Yeah.
guess it
I
doesn't
know that's
sound like he knows for sure. And that could be a problem. I mean,
right.
because you should know that about your partner. I don't know
Yeah.
how long they've been together. They're just boyfriend and girlfriend. But definitely especially if he plans on like marrying her, probably pertinent information to know, and
Right.
something to test on in the relationship. Are you going to respect my boundaries? Because if not, it could potentially be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of kind of the whole dating realm. So, like I said, I don't know how serious he is with this girl, but that's a conversation to be had.
I agree.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
because I think that situations like this when they happen, it's like unfortunate because we don't have those conversations up front, right? Because we don't like think about, oh, like if my what's my girlfriend talking about to her friends? Like
Yeah,
that's just not like on our minds.
sure.
And so I feel like people don't find out about this
Hmm.
until like they like hear it or they
Hmm.
see it in a text message and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, he or she is like
Talking. Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about our problems to their
yeah,
friends."
for sure.
And I do think that, like I think that it's okay to like have that village, but as long as it's like a healthy village.
Hmm.
Um I've encountered, one side where I went through that many years ago, like
Hmm.
early relationships, right? Like in your teen years and early adult years, and then you're just like venting and you're just
Yeah.
upset about something that your
Yeah.
partner did.
Yeah.
And then, like you mentioned earlier on in the episode, what tends to happen is, yes, like your family and your friends now have like this, you know, just this whole different like outlook
Yeah.
on your partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no going back from that
Yeah.
because they're the ones, they don't have to like date him or date her,
Yeah.
right? So now they already have like their opinion, they're
Yeah.
done, they think that you're crazy or like working
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
out.
it's even worse,
So
right?
it's
Like, yeah, they start thinking like,
yeah,
now you can't come to them for even just like positive reinforcement or advice because they just have this bad, this horrible, view.
exactly. And I say that all that to say that I have learned from that
Okay.
and also have learned that I'm not going to say like not every friend has your best interest at heart, but we all have friends who are hurt and who also have issues like with dating or like whatever it is. And I feel like it's just very important for you to understand or to know which friends you can trust with those type of details of your relationship.
Yeah.
You don't want to vent just to vent and get nothing out of it, nothing positive out of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot, I just want to say that because I feel like a lot of young people especially like need to hear that.
Yeah, I guess I do want to ask, just like talking about the whole venting thing. I do think venting is healthy, right? And outside of the relationship, right? Like if I have
Yeah.
something I'm upset with you about, like venting to you about it isn't really helpful for me. How do
No,
you
of course.
feel about, do you think, number one, do you think it's okay to vent to a friend, some sort of gripes or just some sort of, whatever you might be going through with your partner? And number two, what when do you think it's okay to vent to a partner, or not, excuse me, to a friend? Do you think it's okay to vent to a friend? And should there be kind of limits on what you vent to your friend about? Because there's probably a world where, not a world, it's probably suggested, right, that you may want to kind of let some things out about your relationship, right? And sometimes going to a third party could potentially be helpful. I mean, short of going to like a therapist, which may not always be. I mean, that can be an extreme measure, right? And expensive. So it's like, if you do have that friend that you vent to, I mean, what do you think it's healthy to have, and do you think it's okay to do?
I
Outside
think,
of like going to the club, getting drunk with your friends, and
and just
telling
like
all your talking
talking
to hella
trash.
shit about your husband or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to have, like, as long as the friend is like like a good trusting friend and they do have like some great like insight to give to you. Um I however do feel like it's very important for you to, when you are venting, kind of watch what you say or like how you let it out,
Sure.
because I'm also a firm believer in like just the things that you speak out loud, and even the things that like you just think to yourself, right? You don't want to like make yourself believe that about your partner if it comes out in like such a negative or wrong way.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm making sense
Yeah.
of it all.
No, I get it.
But
Yeah.
like, like the cussing and like F him and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I just feel like speaking in that way, maybe even being like emotionally immature about it,
Sure.
I feel like is where I draw the line when it comes to the venting.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna like have like a mature venting session, I think that it's healthy.
Yeah.
But I also feel like not everybody can do that because we are all just such emotional creatures at the end of the day. So I'm sure that, emotions get going once you start the venting process.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's very important to respect your partner while you're doing it.
Hmm.
Um, and if not, like, I'm sorry, it does say a lot about your character.
Sure,
It really
definitely.
does.
And even if it even and I'm not taking away from your point, but even removal of the character aspect about it, maybe a realization that this isn't your person,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you find yourself consistently upset and griping about your partner and you feel like you got to do it with someone else, either either you need to like go back to that relationship and figure out what's going on, or maybe it's time to realize that yeah, maybe the relationship isn't for you. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
also, I'll one more thing to add on top of if you're the type to have venting sessions, um, I don't typically have those. I don't know. It's just not my thing.
I don't either.
Um, but if you're the type, because it could be seen as a healthy thing to do, normalize also having like an uplifting session or having a happy session where you don't always talk about the bad things your partner does. Like normalize also telling your friends when your partner did something like amazing today,
I love
or
that.
normalize
Yeah.
when you telling your friends when your partner has made you happy or something that they've gone the extra mile on, or just the little things that they do every day and why you love them. You are with them for a reason. And we tend to love to just complain. I get it. I understand that
Hmm.
we all complain about stuff, but you just kind of just that negative reinforcement keeps you just in a bad space. And I feel like I don't know. If your partner does something good, that's also something to tell your friends too, right? If you're going to
Yes.
confide in them when it's good and when it's bad, and maybe give your friend kind of at least a nice overall perspective of the person you're dating. That way, when you do bring them something negative or something bad, your partner at least knows that, hey, he's done some good stuff or she's done
Yeah.
some good stuff. So let's like rewind because like,
They
why
can
do you
like
love
bring you back and be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
but do
yeah.
you remember, like,
Yeah, exactly.
when
So
you did
like I
this?
know we probably don't do it and it might sound corny, but maybe it's something we should normalize so that you're just not always like bashing your partner and so forth and so on.
I love that
Um
advice.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't bash your partner anyways. At the end of the day, most of the time, if you want to vent, understandable, but just make sure when you're venting. And again, I'm giving her advice as opposed to him. Again, for him, yeah, you
Well,
said,
it's fine because it's
yeah,
for like
for
everyone,
everybody,
because
right?
I'm sure somebody is probably going to watch this and
Yeah.
then they realize that they do a lot of venting in a negative way. So,
Well, here's some advice for him. If you think or if you find that your girl is maybe even talking trash about you, while it's gonna hurt your feelings a little bit and it might make you upset, whatever she's griping about clearly is an issue. And if you want to do the whole fight and argue over it, that's fine. But it's gonna end negatively. But maybe even though it wasn't presented in the best way, it's still something to discuss with your partner. Hey, listen, I don't like that you told your friends that I do this, or you don't like that I do this, but clearly you don't like that I do it. Like, let's talk about it. Or if you just don't know what they're talking with their friends about, just ask. Be like, hey, listen,
mhm.
like every so often, it's just like I like to check in and be like, hey, do you need anything from me? Is there anything that I'm doing, that is a problem for you? Like, do you need anything? Is there something you want to talk about? Because sometimes there is something your partner wants to talk about, and a lot of us aren't good at just like opening that door, but a lot of us are
Right.
really good at it if somebody opens a door for us.
Yes.
So if you are worried about if you really like this girl or love this girl and you are worried about the things that she says about you, ask her and then have the conversation, because you might be able to clean up, clean all this up, and it's a whole different conversation that she's having with her friends next time. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really great advice.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
do.
Um, any other questions from him? I feel like he has like three or four at the end, but I feel like if not, then
No, that
that's
was
all I
pretty
got.
much
Yeah.
it. He just wanted
Yeah.
to see if he was overreacting about a simple girls' night. So,
Yeah.
you know, we how we feel about like when someone says like, are they overreacting? Like,
Yeah.
your feelings are valid. You feel exactly how you
How you
feel,
supposed to feel,
and
right? Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. So,
There's no such thing as overreacting unless you do something like physical or something that's going to get you in trouble.
yes.
However, I understand what you mean by the question. You know, obviously, it's more so what's your advice here? What should I do here? And I think those key things, right? Like you set those boundaries and make your partner respect those boundaries. And if they
Mhm.
don't, then you set forth the path, of what you do in response to that, whether that's a deal breaker or it's something that inevitably put up with. I don't know. That's up to you. And then the second thing is, yeah, talk to your partner. Ask them. It's okay to ask your partner, like, hey, are there some things that you work on? This potentially avoids like fights that come up, right? Because most of the thing, if you don't have a partner that like tells you every time you're doing something wrong or is just upset, a lot of times it could just build up until something makes them explode, and then they're yelling at you for something that probably isn't even the real issue in the first place, or is the
Yeah.
issue, but you've just been doing it for so long and they haven't said anything. I mean, you could get ahead of that by just talking to your partner. Hey, notice your mood was a little off this week. Did I do anything? Because I want to work on that. I want to work on whatever it is, and do it without getting defensive. We are human. We make mistakes, and sometimes we hurt our partners unknowingly. And I know it's hard to hear that. And it's easier said than done, because as soon as you hear that you've done something wrong, our first response is to go into defense mode. However, if you're going to set forth and ask the question, be open to whatever that response may be, and then work on uh, work on how you deal with that response, in a productive manner.
Yeah.
So, but that's
That's
yeah,
great
that's it.
advice. Wonderful.
Anything else from you?
That's it.
Cool. I like the story. It was a good story, and really good topic. Really, really good topic.
Yeah, I agree.
We all talk a little shit sometimes, right? I mean, it just is what it is. But I always look at it as character. And character is what you do when you don't think anybody's looking. So what you saying to your friend, if your partner overheard you, would you still be okay in saying it? A lot of times,
Mm,
and I can go on tangents for days. A lot of times when I say, like, if I'm talking about somebody to someone else, I reassure them, hey, the things that I'm telling you, I've either already told them,
yes.
or I will tell them, or I would tell them. Like, I feel comfortable saying this to you, but I don't have a problem saying this to them either.
Yeah,
And if you would
I
have a
know that about
problem,
you.
saying that, then you probably wouldn't. You probably shouldn't talk about whatever you're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
for
it.
sure.
I'm done.
That's great.
I'll quit my tangents. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Another episode of Love Up for Debate. Hit that like and subscribe button. Can't tell you guys enough, and appreciate you hanging out and sticking around. And let us know in the comments if you have any pushback or feedback, or if you agree. We'd love to hear one side or the other. Okay. If that's it,
That's it. We'll see you next
we'll see
time.
you next time. Have a wonderful day.